Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I am your humble host, Kevin Kietzman. Happy to be with you at the start of a new week. Pretty nice day outside today. Hope you're getting some fresh air and you had a wonderful weekend. Great to have you with us, as always, on KCMO Talk Radio. We've got a fun show lined up for you. We will talk about where everybody's getting the story wrong with these riots in L.A. because it's turning into a Trump versus Newsom thing. And we'll kind of go into the politics and non-politics of this story as it's unfolding. We will also talk a little bit about Kilmore is back in the country and put him away for a long time. Well, the left rejoiced when they heard Kilmore was coming back, and now it looks like it's going to end very poorly for him. At 10:30, I've been racking my brain really hard trying to figure out how it is, like, the stadium deal in Kansas City, we know what the Royals want. They want a new stadium. We just don't know a location. They're going to have a new stadium. They are not continuing in Kauffman. They have said as much. It's over. The Chiefs have played this cat and mouse game where they've talked about a new stadium and they've talked about a renovation. The renovation, it sounds like, is going to be about $1.2 billion. But the renderings they put out, as you know, looked like a seventh grader drew them. And it was some sort of a little walkway and a couple of tents and a canopy and I don't know what. There was not much. Certainly wasn't $1.2 billion. So I've been trying to figure out how the Chiefs are going to spend $1.2 and what they're up to, and I think I have cracked the code. I've not spoken with anybody. I don't have any inside information, but I've researched this all weekend. I think you're going to like it. You definitely want to stick around at 10:30 and hear what it looks like the Chiefs may be doing if they stayed at Arrowhead Stadium, which I'm not convinced they will do. Of course, we'll check in with Mark at the end of the program today as well. We got a lot to talk with him about, including who the heck was the Royals pitcher yesterday in the ninth inning that almost lost that game. He looks like the Royals manager. Maybe Mark will be able to crack that code for me. We'll start with the riots in L.A., which clearly is a winning issue for Trump, because what you have is illegal aliens protesting on behalf of criminal illegal aliens, people who've committed crimes in addition to the crime of coming in illegally, which is a crime. And you can be deported for that. Just for that, you can be deported. But now they're supporting murderers and rapists and whatnot, and the White House is starting to release some information on some of the people that they're protesting for, these peaceful protests. One man from Vietnam is 49 years old. He had a murder conviction, convicted of murder, running loose in America illegally. Pretty sure that's somebody we want to round up. 55-year-old Mexican national, child cruelty. Oh, that's a good one. Child cruelty charges and a firearms assault. A 49-year-old from the Philippines, sexual battery, and a 44-year-old rapist. Those were just a few of the ones that they were picking up on Friday because they know where they are. They've done their research. We talked about they were basically doing in L.A. what they did in Boston 2 weeks ago, where they picked up 1,500 people with criminal convictions. Folks, these are not alleged criminals. These are people with convictions that are either convicted in another country roaming free in our country or convicted here and allowed to go free because they're in a blue state. And they're just allowed, oh, we feel bad for you. You're an immigrant. We'll let you loose. It's a shame you killed that person, but we'll let you go. We don't think you're going to do any harm to our society going forward. So what's beyond stupid in this argument is Gavin Newsom, who says what Donald Trump is doing is illegal. Gavin Newsom is defending people that are here illegally and have committed more crimes, which is illegal, and are committing actions in the street against ICE agents that are illegal. You can't throw bricks at an ICE agent. That's against the law. That's illegal. So we've got triple illegal seeing in front of us, many of them carrying Palestinian flags. Many of these are Muslim people that hate Jews, and they don't care. Once the riots and protests are on, whatever your grievance is, you're all in. You're like, oh, crap, this is happening. I'm driving down there. And then these idiots start ordering Waymos on the app. Waymos are robo-taxis. And they order like they're getting picked up in a Waymo. When it arrives, they set fire to it. I mean, this is insane what these people are doing and what they're standing for. All in defense, A, of illegal aliens, but B, illegal criminal aliens. So here's what's really going on. I think this is the most important part. This is why the 2.0 version of Donald Trump is so great. What we have is Gavin Newsom trying to play politics. And in doing so, he's saying Trump's doing something illegal. This is all political for him. He's trying to do this. Well, what you actually have in Donald Trump is somebody who is not playing politics anymore. There's no politics left in Trump. The closest thing to politics left in Trump is settling on a big, beautiful bill and saying, well, I understand the political landscape of Washington, D.C. is I can't get the exact bill I want passed. Okay, so you can call that playing politics, whatever. When you're sending in the National Guard, you're sending a statement. And you know what else you're doing? You're getting everybody that is in law enforcement in America motivated to go to work today. I know we have members of the law enforcement community listening to this broadcast right now, and you're pumped. You're like, dang it, we finally got somebody that gets it. The reason that I do this for a living is to get bad people off the streets and keep our community safe. And we got a president who's not playing politics anymore. And if Gavin Newsom thinks he can claim it's illegal for Trump to send in the National Guard, I don't think he understands how this works. These laws have been in place since at least 1992 that the president has the right to send the National Guard wherever he wants. And then they're going to claim he's a tyrant, he's a dictator, he's taking over the country. But America knows Donald Trump. They know Donald Trump better than any other American citizen. And America's decided that he's not Hitler, and he's not going to do that. And when you see the video of people waving Mexican or Philippine flags with one hand while setting fire to an American flag with the other, Gavin Newsom has no chance to gain traction with this issue. None. He should just step back and let Trump do his thing. He really should at this point. He's going to win California. If he wants to run for president, you better get on the side of the American people, which is overwhelmingly lacking in support for any illegal immigration. Almost all Americans want to do this legally. And if somebody's here illegal and they've committed a crime, Americans, this is not close. They want them deported. They don't want them in our prisons. That costs us money. Get them out. Trump's doing that job. I made a big deal about this about a week ago on the show. I said, doesn't sound like much. 1,500 in Boston. I said, that's 1,500 illegal aliens that had committed crimes and were convicted of crimes and let go. Do you know how much crime 1,500 people can do, even as, what's Boston, 4 or 5 million people? 1,500 criminals can do a lot of crime in Boston, especially if they're consolidated in one area of Boston, which they were. They rounded most of them up within a couple miles of one another. It's terrible. And they're doing this in all these cities. And they go to LA and they've got these people. They've got them dead to rights. We know who you are. We know you're from Vietnam and you were convicted of murder. We know you're here. We're taking you in and we're deporting you. You're done. And so people want to riot over that? There's nobody in America is going to agree with that. Nobody. Just people that are crazy and want to. Now, you may come in and say, I'm LGBTQ plus and I'm really ready to throw a Molotov cocktail at anything because of this. Or I'm Palestinian, I hate the Jews, and I'm willing to pile on it. They don't even know what they're protesting. There's going to be some unbelievable interviews come out with these people. And by the way, the overwhelming majority of the crowd, they can say mostly peaceful protest because what you've got, you have gawkers. You have spectators. It's no different than a football game. When this stuff happens in L.A., people come out of their homes and they go, let's go down there and let's hang out on a top of a bridge and let's watch. Let's see what happens. Like, seriously, a lot of these people are spectators. They just want to see the revolution unfold right before their eyes. Maybe shoot a video, get a selfie, become famous, catch something on tape. That is happening. But you can't throw bricks through cop car windows. You can't do the things these people are doing to cops. And I think if they walk up and ask these people what they're upset about, they won't even be able to say it. They'll just say, we're upset that he's sending people, he's deporting people. Well, no, he's deporting criminals. Deporting criminals. And America likes this. And Gavin Newsom is wrong. It's the law. And Gavin Newsom has very quickly turned this into politics because he wants to run for president. I don't know why he thinks the things that he's saying right now, simply bashing on Trump, is going to get him in the White House when he can't run against Trump. Trump won't be running. You're going to run against the Trump record? You're just assuming it's J.D. Vance? I don't know what he's thinking. But he's turning this political. There is no politics left in Donald Trump. Trump 2.0 doesn't give a rip about politics. He cares about doing the job. And the law says these people aren't supposed to be here. They weren't supposed to be allowed in. They're here. And the first thing we're doing is rounding up anybody with a conviction. And they said it very plainly. We don't care if it's parking tickets, speeding tickets, outstanding warrant, DUI, whatever it may be. We're coming after you. If you're in the database for breaking our laws after you broke a law and got here, we're sending you home. And dang it, that's what we voted for, folks. It's exactly what we voted for. And you have one politician playing politics and the other one is not. There's no politics in the National Guard. It's we're not doing this. And don't even think about starting it in San Francisco or in another city because we're coming in and we're going to get the bad people and you're going home and we're going to find out is they're all illegal anyway. There'll be some organized Antifa American citizens that show up at some of these things. They're such wussies that, they may throw a couple pebbles and run. They're so soft. They got no chance. No, they don't want any part of this. They don't want the smoke bombs or the rubber bullets or anything like that. If they can find a perch where they can toss something off a ledge, maybe they will. Those people are soft. Those are mostly rich American kids, Antifa's mostly like really wealthy, deranged white kids between the age of 16 and 30 that are hardened leftists. They are not tough, and they don't want any part of a fight. They just like going and demonstrating, getting in the face of Christians and things like that, and see what happens, and they scream at each other, and then they run. That's not who we're talking about. We're talking about some hardened criminals here in the streets of L.A., and I support it completely. This is a win for Trump no matter what. He's not running again, so he doesn't need a personal win. But you can't watch this video and see what they're doing. You can't see somebody holding a Mexican flag, waving it proudly, and burning an American flag and say, oh, yeah, I stand with those rioters. It just doesn't work that way. 913-408-7957. That's 408-7957. You're listening to Uncanceled. This is KCMO Talk Radio.
Whether you're a Jayhawk, Wildcat, Tiger, or KC Roo, we won't cancel you. Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
Great to have you with us. We're getting right to the phones here in a second. Did you see this news came out over the last few days about the state of Kansas and the revenue that's coming in? The governor in Kansas is largely there because they ran against Sam Brownback when he was the former governor for lowering all these taxes and trying to get Kansas to a no state income tax state. That was his plan. What happened when she became governor was that stuff started to kick in. They quickly had a $2 billion surplus in Kansas. And last year, about 14 months ago, in session in Topeka, they lowered taxes again. They changed the tax code in Kansas from 3 brackets to 2. Okay, so they simplified it. No tax on Social Security. They did a lot of things that's in the big, beautiful bill 14 months ago in Kansas. In May, their projected revenue, a couple months out, they said, well, we think it's going to be higher than what our projection is. This isn't the number, but let's just say it was $100 million was projected income tax revenue in May. They were projecting it would be 30% higher, which would be $130 million. It came in at $185 million. They took in May almost double what they thought they would with this new tax code. Lowering taxes, simplifying it, and not taxing on as much stuff has led to business growth and expansion and more revenue coming in. It works. It will work for the federal government. All right, here we go. Our phone number, if you'd like to join us, is 913-408-7957. We go to the phones, and Jerry is up. Hi, Jerry. How are you this morning?
Kevin, just fine. I got a question. What I don't understand is why Trump would call up the National Guard when he has the Army Reserve to call up. The Army Reserve is his army. The National Guard is Goofy's army. Now, why would he want to cross swords with that clown when he could just – he didn't have to. And I want somebody to call in and straighten me out because I was a member of the Air Force Reserve for quite a while, and just it's a whole different makeup. So why is he fiddling with that? And maybe it's semantics. Maybe somebody's just got it screwed up. But I'd sure like to know the answer to that one.
Well, I'm not an expert on this. I'll just tell you right now. But is the National Guard, I think you can make an argument the National Guard is in many ways run by the state.
It is. It's the state's army.
I think he might be doing it to poke the bear.
Well, maybe. I don't, and he's done crazier things than that. And maybe that's the whole case. Maybe he just wants to get the underwear model out there all revved up, and I guess he's doing it. I don't know. And it's just it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
why even fiddle with the guy?
I do think from a public relations standpoint, it is different because there's supposedly 500 Marines on standby right now, and have not been called in. And they're like active Marines. He's going to send the Marine. If this thing gets bad, the Marines are going in. Now you've got your military doing it, and that's a whole different level. And I think you try to hold off, or you just don't want in America. You don't want to think you have to send your own army in to go get people. But you know what? We've been invaded. I don't care what anybody says. We've been invaded. We've been invaded by tens of millions of people. We've been invaded, and as far as I'm concerned, that's what our military's for: is to keep our border closed and get people out that invaded us.
That's why we have a reserve. That's why we have a National Guard. That's why it's there, to protect us.
Yep.
And you're right. We've been invaded. It is. Well, Kevin, I'll go. I had that question, and maybe it's just a poke the bear scenario. I don't know. But anyway, listen, thanks, and you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, thank you. You're a great caller and a great listener. We appreciate you listening every single day, for sure. No, it's not really that tricky of a situation at this point because there isn't that much happening. And if these people have half a brain, if they're illegal aliens at this point, if that's where you were in L.A. and you were illegally there and you've been convicted of some sort of crime, and again, it doesn't matter what it is. It could have been petty theft. You might have stolen a pack of gum from a 7-Eleven. If you did that and they caught you and they wrote you up, you're in the database, they're coming to get you. And they know that. The people hanging around aren't those. The job is now difficult. I think at this point, finding the illegals that have been convicted of crimes in that location in Los Angeles is very complex because I think they fled. I don't think they're there. I just think it's a bunch of people who maybe they're here illegally. Maybe they have no criminal background. Maybe they have family. They've had children since they got here. They've got a pretty good job. They like their life. But I'll be darned if I can understand, if that's your situation, how you're carrying or wearing a shirt of the flag of where you came from while demonstrating against or burning the flag of the country you live in. I don't get that. It's one of those things. So if I committed a heinous crime, all right? And I know I got to get out of here before I get caught. So I go to Mexico. I killed somebody. And now I got to go to Mexico. I flee to Mexico. I get there illegally. I don't go through I sneak across the river. I'm living on whatever. They're going to find me and give me a debit card, free food, a place to stay, and some Medicare. What do you think happens if I look at somebody the wrong way in Mexico and they pick me up and they know that I'm wanted for murder in the United States? What would that be like for my experience in Mexico? Holy smokes, folks. This thing is so jacked up. The left has done so many crazy ideas about different things related to illegal immigration, and they change their words and they get cute. And man, I'll tell you what, I said this on my podcast today, and this is dicey territory. You want to really piss some people off? What do you think the black people in LA think right now about these people doing this? Because they defaced the Kobe Bryant mural, the one with his daughter. They sprayed all over it and destroyed it. You want to see some people mad? Kobe's a hero in that town, and they wrecked that thing. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled. 10 to 11 a.m. on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, coming right up, I'm going to explain to you what I think the Chiefs may be up to should they renovate Arrowhead Stadium. Stick around for that. We got some nice gentlemen on the line here. I like to get all the calls in here if we can. JP's been waiting patiently in Bonner Springs. Hello, JP. Good morning. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Fine.
I'm just calling in reference to your last caller. He asked why the president called up the Guard versus the reserves. It's true that the Guard belongs to the states, but the reserves belongs to the federal government. But the United States Army Reserves are not combat units. They do not have a combat role, so they are not outfitted to handle riots.
Okay. Are they mostly like mechanics or computer people or things like that? Is that what they do?
Support units.
Yeah. Professional.
Logistical type units.
Yeah.
Support units. So they're not skilled or trained to come right out and go out into to handle a situation like that. I believe the only reserve unit that's a combat unit is the 100th Infantry in Hawaii.
Okay. And then that would explain why he's got the 500 Marines standing by, because I'm pretty sure they're ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They'll be ready.
Thank you, JP. Great call, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you, man. That's awesome. Here is Jeff in Shawnee. Hi, Jeff. Good morning.
Hi, Kevin. Yeah, great show. Hey, I've been going down to the licensing bureau down there in the Mission since I was 16 years old. I'll be 62 this year. And I got a thing in the mail saying my license is going to be up. So I went down there, and they told me it was a 2.5-hour wait. I said, okay, I got nothing going on. And my birthday's in another week, so I sat down. And 15 windows. 4 of them are going. Just 4. And I sat there for about 45 minutes. I went up to the lady. I said, hey, we got 15 windows here. How come we only got 4? And she goes, we just can't get nobody to work here. I said, okay. So about 2 hours later, I went to go use the bathroom, and the bathroom's locked up. It said out of service. So I went to the girl. I said, hey, what's on with the bathroom? She goes, it's been out for like the last month. And I said, well, you guys got a bathroom, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, yeah. I go, but you don't have one here in a government office. And she said, no. And I said, man, I used to plumb, man. I could probably fix it. But here we go, man. Kansas is sitting on $500 million.
Right.
It took me 3 hours to get through there.
Yeah.
And no bathroom, man.
Well,
So
you don't need to sit there. You can sign up early, and they'll send you a text and give you a time, and you show up, and it's easy, and you're done. How many people were waiting?
Yep. But here's
Was there a big
deal
crowd
on
of people waiting? There used to be like 200 people waiting in there. Was there anybody else in there?
There was a crowd of people, but see, they weren't set up like the DMV across the street.
Okay.
They would not take my phone number, so I couldn't leave.
I see.
And they didn't know if it was going to be 2 hours or less, so they had me locked in there, even though right across the street, the DMV, you can give them your phone number, and they can text you 5 minutes out. No, I was locked in a chair for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I think you just described every post office everywhere. You want to see government? Thank you for the call, man. I really appreciate it. You want to see buildings falling apart, go to a post office. And concrete in their parking lots and everything else. Like concrete cancer, which is the reason we were going to get stadiums, right? It's concrete cancer. So we know the Royals are getting a new stadium, period. They're going to do that. That's happening. They're not staying at Kauffman Stadium. We don't know what the Chiefs are going to do. I personally still think they'd be crazy to not build a brand new stadium with all the entertainment around it like everyone else. And I revisited that this weekend when we actually bumped into somebody that in 1998 won a free trip from WHB Radio. Well, it might have been KCTE then. We went every year to the Chiefs-Broncos game in Denver. We took our best sponsors, and we would take contest winners. And a lady said, hey, I don't know if you remember me or not, which I didn't. 27 years ago, I won a free trip. We went to Denver. You guys were great, the whole thing. I'm like, yeah. She's like, that was the old stadium. I said, yeah, how old is the new stadium? So I looked it up. And when I did a Google search on Denver Stadium, they've played 23 years at their new stadium, but that's not what pops up when you Google search Denver Broncos Stadium. What pops up is they have a plan for a $5.3 billion brand new stadium with an entertainment complex around it about 15 miles away. They're done with that stadium. It doesn't generate the revenue that they need. They built that stadium for $400 million, which in today's dollars would be about $760 million. That's less than $1 billion. So that gives you an idea of the difference between what they're spending now and what they're building compared to what they have. Last year, Denver Stadium was ranked the number 9 stadium in the NFL. It's a good stadium. There's nothing wrong with it. It does not generate revenue outside of football the way that the football owners want it to. So they're eyeing a $5.3 billion development near the airport, out in the flatland. This would be to the east of downtown Denver. There's a couple of other players. I don't know where Lone Tree is. They're looking at a community out there called Lone Tree as well. But they had floated the idea around of trying to put a dome on it or do something else and maybe get a Super Bowl and keep what they have. But it still wouldn't generate revenue around the stadium. So they're looking at $5.3 billion. So I spent the whole weekend researching the stadiums that are being built right now. And what I found is in Tennessee, where they're building a stadium, the most interesting feature of the stadium there, which is $2.3 billion, right next to the old stadium, is a non-retractable 350,000 square foot cable net ethylene tetrafluoroethylene roof system, ETFE, which allows sunlight to filter through translucent, lightweight panels. It will never open. It's cheaper if it never opens. You'll feel like you're outside because the sun is coming in. And anytime Kenny Chesney wants to have a concert there, you're not going to get rained on. It's much cheaper. It's a little bit like what the Chiefs saw in Germany when they played over there the last time. In Nashville, they said, what we've done is we're going to build the inside of our stadium like Nashville. There's going to be honky-tonks and bars and all this stuff inside here. There's going to be indoor entertainment that corporations can use, outings, weddings, all this different stuff. And then the cheap seats upstairs, they're building massive concourses on what is considered the outside of the stadium, where it's open air when the weather's nice. You can come early before the game. We'll have live music up there. There'll be bars, everything at the stadium on the exterior, up at the highest portions, where you look out over the Cumberland River and see the entire downtown skyline. I think they know what they're doing in Nashville when it comes to rooftops. But for the game itself, it's going to be enclosed. And they're doing that for $2.3 billion. That's a brand new stadium. In Buffalo, they're building a brand new stadium. And this is completely wild. In Buffalo, they're using a canopy system. And the canopy system, the best way to describe what this is, it's going to cover 60% of the fans. 65% of the fans will be covered. It has a snow melt feature to it because sometimes they get 7 feet of snow. It has to melt the snow as it hits the canopy. They're going to leave an open air stadium in Buffalo. It's going to be cold, but 65% of the fans will be covered from the elements, and they won't have to shovel snow out of there in all these seats. You've seen these videos where they're trying just to get people in. It's covered. And they're going to do this. Now, the price of their stadium has gone up. It was going to be $1.7 billion. Now it's looking at closer to $2.2 billion. The state of New York, the county, and the city are giving them 50% of the original project. And according to the report that I read, that is the highest number any NFL team has ever gotten. 50% of their project paid for by public funding, taxpayers, is the biggest number, according to the story that I read, ever. Well, the Chiefs are well over that on both plans now. They're 70% in Kansas. They're 50% in Missouri, but they still have the county and the city to kick in money. So the Chiefs, quite literally, whatever they decide to do, it looks like they're going to get the highest percentage of taxpayer money, essentially taxpayer money, that's ever been offered to an NFL team. And in Buffalo, they're going to melt snow with the can. Now, I like the Buffalo idea a lot better than the Nashville idea for Kansas City. Cover 65% of your seats when it's raining or snowing or whatever, but leave me an open-air stadium. I think that would be much cooler. I like open-air football. Again, Buffalo's a far different place than here because of all the snow they get, and it's much colder there. But Nashville has decided Nashville's weather's a little bit better than ours, but not much. And they've decided they want to be enclosed. But they do a boatload of concerts in Nashville at their football stadiums. All those award shows are there and everything. So, climate controlling it is a big deal for them. But they're doing those. These are not domes. Again, in Nashville, the thing that they're putting over the top doesn't open. I think opening roofs are done. They cost like an extra $1 billion to have a roof that opens. That's just throwing away like $1 billion. They're very expensive, and no football coach ever wants them open. They always want them closed. So Buffalo's not leaving an option to close anything, and Nashville's not leaving an option to open anything. So that's where I am with the Chiefs. I've said this all along. I just want some outdoor football. It'd be great if we got a Super Bowl. That's clearly what Tennessee's going for. Theirs is going to be closed. They'll be able to do a Super Bowl. I don't think Buffalo's going to get a Super Bowl in that stadium because it's going to be open air. So if the Chiefs are renovating for roughly $1.2 billion, it's got to be one of these two systems. It has to be. It either has to be some sort of a canopy system that's going to cover most of the fans, and you'd be able to put a bunch of heaters and things in there to where the fans are warmer than whatever the outside temperature is. They're able to do that in Buffalo as well. or this translucent system that they're putting in Nashville, which is not all that expensive. And if you don't get 7 feet of snow on it, it sounds like it's just fine. Maybe the Chiefs are looking at something like that, because I haven't really been able to figure out what it is they're going to do to Arrowhead to make it something that it's not. I do think spending $1.2 billion to put one of these types of roofs on Arrowhead is a mistake. That'll get you a Super Bowl. I don't know if it'll get you a Final Four. But if you can start from scratch like Denver's going to do, like the Raiders did, the whole division, the Chargers play in that SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, are the Chiefs really going to be the only team in the division without a brand new, state-of-the-art, revenue-generating stadium a couple hundred days a year when there's no football? The Arizona Cardinals have it. The Dallas Cowboys have it. Both LA teams have it. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's building a big, beautiful stadium with all kinds of entertainment around it where the team makes money even when football is not being played. I find it hard to believe the Chiefs aren't going to do that, even if it costs more. Why would you not? If the revenue generation is there, and Mark Donovan, the team president, has said, there's some things that we can put around Arrowhead to generate revenue, and his exact quote was, but it's not even anything like Power and Light. Okay, Power and Light for a lot of people has not been a success. We'll tell you it's not, unless there's a concert or something going on there that night, there's nothing there. And so the Chiefs are trying to build a place where if there's nothing in the stadium, it still generates revenue. It becomes its own destination. Other teams have been very successful at that. They've done that in Phoenix in a beautiful way. They have everything there now. They've got resort golf courses, casinos, go-kart tracks, Top Golf, anything entertainment you can think of. It's all right next to where the Cardinals built their stadium, 15 years ago? And everything is there around it, and the Cardinals have their hands in all of it. And they're making money hand over fist. Obviously, that's a 365-day-a-year climate for an entertainment district. It's a little different in the wintertime here in Kansas City than it is in some places. But I don't know. These teams have just made an awful lot of money doing things other than football. And I knowing Clark Hunt the way I know him, why would he turn down the opportunity to make the most revenue? He's not scared to spend more money up front to make more revenue over 30 years. If the projections are there, I think it's going to be a new stadium. But seeing these plans these other teams have, but again, now these are not remodels. Buffalo's a brand new stadium. Tennessee's a brand new stadium. Denver's talking about a brand new stadium. Everybody's doing different things. But what they've put on their roof in Nashville and Buffalo sounds like something you could do at Arrowhead in a renovation if you were doing a renovation of $1.2 billion. Now, I'm obviously not an engineer or an architect. You're going to need steel beams and everything else to hold up whatever roof. So I think it's all going to have to be pillared to the ground somehow. I don't think the shell of the stadium is prepared for that. It's just concrete. So I don't know, but that could absolutely be what they're looking at. And it's kind of good to know. I just wish the Chiefs were more open about some of this stuff. Like, we might renovate. If we do, it would have something to do with different kind of roof or different type of enclosure for the fans or amenities for the fans that will really make the environment great. I think 65% of the seats covered with able to climate control them just a little bit, obviously keep you dry and out of the wind, but to have enough heaters up under the overhangs and stuff that you could feel a little warmth off that when it's really cold, I think that sounds really interesting. And yet still have an open-air stadium where if it is raining, the players are out there playing in the rain. Who doesn't love that? If it's snowing, the players are out there in the snow. That sounds fantastic. I don't ever want to turn a Buffalo game on and watch the Bills play when I know that they're getting 3 feet of snow over the weekend and they're not playing in the snow. I want to see that football. Their slogan for their new stadium, built for Buffalo. That's what they say. We're built for Buffalo. That means we're leaving it open air where it's going to snow all over these players. I just think it's fantastic. I love that. All right, Uncanceled continues. We'll check in with Mark, see what his parlay action was over the weekend. I know he's been betting on Jack Caglione. Caglione was 4 for 4 yesterday. We'll see how that went next on KCMO. All right, Best Offer KC is proud to sponsor Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio, and I am proud to consider Mark Delatorre a new friend. I've known him now for several months. He's a great guy. He's got a great company. He's got really dedicated professionals at Best Offer KC that want to help people sell their home when they need to move quickly. It's really not any more difficult or complicated to know than that. If you got to sell your home fast, call Best Offer KC. Now, the reasons why you may have to sell fast are as different as, the days of the week. It could be a medical issue. It could be something personal. It could be a new job. It could be an inherited house. There's a million things it could be, but over 10% of the houses in Kansas City are not used by a realtor. They're not sold in traditional ways. This is a great way to move your house fast. If you don't want to show it, if you don't want to fix it, if you don't want to clean it up, you don't want to do any of that stuff. You just want to sell it. BestOfferKC.com is helping you leave the hassle behind. BestOfferKC.com. 913-338-SOLD. That's 338-SOLD for BestOfferKC.com, helping you leave the hassle behind.
It's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. Great to have you with us to start your week right. The Vince Show is coming up in just a few minutes. He'll have much more on what's going on out in Los Angeles, where it looks like it's fairly quiet today. I think maybe this thing's just flat over, which would be nice. Send the message, say we're not dealing with this, and it is over. We would all be in for that. Did you see the American woman that won the French Open this week? Her name's Coco Gauff. She is a young superstar and the first American to win it in quite some time. She said afterwards what it was like to be the first American in several years or whatever to win the French Open. And she said, I'm definitely patriotic. I'm so happy to represent people who look like me and don't feel supported. She's black. And then she talked about a down period after the election in November and how she felt. I'm like, what? You just won the French Open, and they're asking you how it feels to be an American, and you can't just pipe down and say, it's great to be an American. Love my country, and I'm proud to be here and win the French Open. And she couldn't do it, Mark. She couldn't do it. She had to say, represent people who look like me that don't feel supported. What is it that Donald Trump doesn't support about people that look like her? It's staggering to me.
Part of the DTS, right?
I guess. I just don't get it, man. Do you watch tennis at the highest level?
I usually do. I didn't this weekend, but usually I'll watch Wimbledon and stuff like that.
This Carlos Alcaraz is something else. I'm not a big tennis guy. He's 22 and just won his 5th Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm.
He was down 2 sets. It took him 5 hours to win and won the French Open. That's insane.
See, that's a part of his game. He makes you think that you're going to win, and then he's so young and so athletic, and so he can go the distance. He has the endurance, so he makes you think you're going to win, and then he just comes right back every time.
Dude, he's got 5 majors at 22. That's just crazy. Who is Trevor Richards, and why does he look like Matt Quatrero, and the Royals manager, and why was he pitching yesterday when it was 7-2 Royals in the 9th?
I did not know who this guy was, and I feel like I'm a pretty big Royals fan.
Did you not think it was Matt Quatrero?
Yeah, he did look quite a bit like his manager there.
I mean,
Did he come out? Yeah.
The center field camera's on him. He's pitching. He's got the hair out the back, and it's all gray, which is kind of manager Q. I always get Mayor Q and manager Q kind of mixed up here. Manager Q, and I'm like, is Matt Quatrero pitching for the Royals in the 9th inning now?
Pitcher manager.
Man. Richards, I haven't seen today. I'm guessing he's not on the team anymore after what happened yesterday.
I'm assuming he's DFA'd at this point, right?
The Royals won, and Jack Caglione, the rookie sensation to be, was 2 for 21 in his first week in the major leagues and went 4 for 4. What'd you see in his stroke on Sunday, Mark?
I liked it. He hit the extra bases. The only thing was Salvi was clearing the bases actually before he got a chance to get some RBIs. But yeah, I think it looks good. I think he just had to settle down, get back into the flow of things, and now you've got the first homestand. So maybe we get to see his first home run Wednesday.
That'd be cool.
That'd be fun.
The Yankees are coming to town. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Yankees, Royals. That's going to be fun. So I was thinking about, one of the big things for baseball players is their flight home after a road trip or their flight out after a homestand. And the Royals finished 3-3, and they finished on a win. Matt Quatrero was terrible on this homestand. He couldn't have managed worse than he did. And this guy's been a good manager. I've got almost no beefs about him. He was dreadful on this road trip. The stupid things he did were just asinine. I couldn't believe it. Like, I don't even recognize him. I'm thinking to myself, is he distracted? Does he have a personal issue? Where's his head? Because I didn't even understand some of the stuff he was doing. It was so crazy. But they got on that plane and felt pretty good and came home 3-3. And the most important thing is Jack Caglione got on that plane and must have felt like king for a day. What do you think? He had like steak and lobster on the way back from Chicago?
Hopefully.
Maybe a little champagne, glass of wine.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him. That took a lot. A 4-for-4 game will take all the pressure in the world off. Good stuff. Vince Show is coming up next. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled.